Welcome to another Spotlight series with the Movement Guild. I'm Adam Wolf, and Jessica Carlin is also here. Welcome, Jessica. We're excited
Thank
to have Pat Galivan here, who's the owner of GVN Performance. Pat is become a friend of mine and a colleague. I'll let him tell us about him. So, Pat, hi. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate you having me. Yeah, definitely honored to get this opportunity to sit down and chat with you guys a little bit.
Tell us a little bit about GVN, who you're
So,
co-owner with your brother and another person. Tell me about that.
yeah, so I own GVM Performance with my brother, Brian Galvin, and his wife, Gabriella. Um, GVN started probably around 2011 or 12 or so. And what we do is we're a strength and conditioning company. And our main focus is working with hockey athletes from the professional level all the way down to the youth level, whether it be, 8 or 9 year old kids that are working on like youth athletic development. And we also have another branch of business where we work with adult general population clients, um, many of whom like to keep an active lifestyle, whether it's playing men's league hockey, pickup basketball, golf, you name it. And, as an extension of, physical therapy, try to keep them healthy in their lifestyle choices.
You do a great job of it too, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you today. And it's funny, like the hockey stuff is the thing that you do in itself, which is a lot of fun. We could go in places, and that's probably another conversation. But I was really impressed with you with the stuff you do with the weekend warrior or the older population that maybe still wants to be active. I was impressed in the way we came about, which was fun, was through somebody. We're both working with somebody, and I would have this person do some movements and some things, and he'd kind of do them straight away and said, "Oh, Pat," and I kept hearing your name back and forth, and I was like, "Oh, I know Pat's background and thought process a little bit about where he's coming from." And then we met, and I don't feel like you do yourself enough justice because you also are a physical therapy assistant, right? You have like a background in PTA that you worked in, correct? I'm
Sure.
teeing it up for you here, man.
Yeah, no, I think having, the background as a physical therapist assistant, kind of gives like GVN a unique position to know how to deal with certain limitations or injuries that people come to us with. Just like you spent the early days in my physical therapy career, got uh, the applied functional science certification fellowship with the Gray Institute, which kind of broadened my scope of being able to watch people move. Um, and, I think, with you being an instructor for that uh, program, it's been nice to have somebody to be able to throw ideas off of, or if we're sharing a client, whether they are starting with you and then graduating into more activity, or an athlete that's at the top level of their sport, being able to communicate and tell me what you're seeing and go back and forth on that. I think it's been huge for clients' progresses and getting them to reach their goals and keeping them pain free. So I incorporate a ton of that in what we do. I still want to make sure that we're hitting the basics of strength and conditioning and that type of stuff. But I think, especially for the older population, to, keep them moving in 3 planes of motion and keep them mobile, while attacking some of just the general strength, to get them to where they need to be is definitely something we pride ourselves on.
And it's been nice to have that resource for our people. So I think that being able to speak what the common movement language, and I feel like the way that I look at, and I think one of the things you do a good job of, Pat, is I think about PT as more micro and more performance, which is really just the other end of the movement spectrum. If people are like good minus to good plus, you're like in the good plus world, and I'm more in the good minus and getting them to good world. but it's the same spectrum, and you were able to look at it micro to macro and speak some of the same language about what I might be wanting somebody to work on, and you can like run with it really well with your team. And you have a little bit of a team as well, right? Like tell us a little bit about what you do and where you guys are at, because you have a lot going on.
Yeah, we our location downtown's at Johnny's West Ice House. At our location, we have myself and then three other trainers, Chris Esty, Cade Swigert, and Andrew Lozanak. And it's been cool to watch the team develop over the years. When you get I'm sure you're the same as in the physical therapy realm. When you get a new therapist and they're young and they're pretty green, you can take them under your wing a little bit, and you're sitting there wondering if they're going to pan out, and then 2-3 years down the road, like you're like, holy crap, look at this guy, man. He's a phenomenal coach now. Um, so, we do every week, we're going to have a staff meeting in a few hours where, we'll go over, different questions and needs. And each person, depending on the week, will go through like 5 to 10 minutes of information that they're learning and continuing education. So, it's been fun to build that up. And then, as far as like our facilities in the suburbs, we have one at Fox Valley Ice Arena in Geneva, Illinois, one at North Shore Ice Arena in Northbrook, and then in Michigan, we have one in Plymouth, and that's our location where we work with the U.S. National Team Development Program. So between the four
For hockey, for
locations
those
for
listeners. Yeah.
hockey, yes, for hockey.
Yeah.
Sorry, I take that for granted. Like everybody just knows that, right?
Yeah.
Um, but between all of our, I think, what's unique about us as a company is we have so many like high level coaches within the realm that, we have our own text groups. We have, kind of get togethers to where we can share information and debate and discuss and keep an open dialogue, what's working, what's not working. I learned this new thing from here and there. And, everybody just kind of grows, and it creates a really like growth mindset atmosphere.
It's important.
I have another question for Pat, which is I understand that you work from anyone from extremely high level athletes to weekend warriors and people trying to increase wellness and longevity. What would you say are similarities? So when somebody walks through your door, whether they are at the really high performing end or the entry level, and what are some similarities in your intake process, and what could somebody expect that walked through your doors that's not a professional hockey player?
Well, first and foremost, I try to put the same amount of significance as if I'm working with a NHL player as I do with, a 55-year-old guy that's playing men's league twice a week and wants to like, get around with his grandkids and be healthy from that perspective. I would say with the processes can be pretty similar as far as when we're doing evaluation when a new client's coming in. Um, we'll sit down and we'll talk about goals and limitations and training history, experience, past injuries. Then we'll spend some time going through a table assessment where, we'll look at kind of like the big rocks where you're looking at hip range of motion, ankle range of motion, T-spine, shoulder, core stabilization, hip stabilization, through a table test and a movement assessment. I would say I would probably go a little bit more in depth on the movement assessment with a high level player where, um, the assessment is more dynamic, a little bit higher level, maybe plyometric, looking at landing mechanics from that perspective. Whereas, depending on the activity level or, um, if a client's coming in that has like a history of low back pain and wants to get healthy, like I'm going to be looking at different level movements with them. Where one might just be, I'm looking at like a overhead squat for a gem pop client. And then, I might be looking at like a, single leg depth drop landing for a pro hockey player or pro athlete from 12 to 16-inch box and looking for like a dynamic valgus of the hip and knee and how they organize their body with that. That's one example. Like body composition, we'll do body composition testing. That can be left up to the client. Some clients, if they don't want to do body comp and they just want to come in and get going and feel good, which I'm usually fine with. The athlete, depending on the age, like a seasoned pro may be pretty happy with their nutritional habits and where their body composition is, whereas like a 16, 17-year-old kid, uh, who's maybe needs to put on quite a bit of muscle and size, needs to go through the body composition and nutritional educational process and supplementation and all that education. They might, go a little bit more in that direction. And then, for pretty much all of our athletes, we're going to be using the force plates to look at, force outputs and asymmetries with their counter movement jumps and max strength testing with the isometric belt test. Whereas again, depending on the Gen Pop client, like some of them may be interested in that and their main goal is just to improve on the ice. And others are just kind of looking to get out of pain and be healthy and be able to function on the ice. And they might not care about that at all. So it's really like what does the person want and what are their goals and desires that we're going to try to meet and focus on.
Thank you.
I think that's one of the things you do a good job of is being able, and I was impressed about your organization early on was that you get a metrics and you get like true numbers. I think that's a conversation we've had before. So thank you for that. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. We're keeping this at 10 to 15 minutes. So anything else you want us to know about your business? Where can we find you? Are there any specials or anything that you're doing right now that you want people to know about?
Yeah, coming out of the summer, which is our big busy time of the year with our off-season program and our athletes, we start shifting our focus more to that general population training, which is basically anyone who's not, playing competitive sports. And we hold a group class at 7 a.m. Monday through Friday. And the focus is pretty similar to training an athlete. We call the class the Eternal Athlete. So initially we'll start off an evaluation and we'll take a look at any range of motion limitations, movement limitations, and we will come up with something specific for each person to work on when they first get into the gym and run through on their own. And it follows a similar format as like an athlete's training session where you'll get warmed up good, activated. We'll work on some speed and power in the first block. We'll get into kind of a main strength lift, then we'll get into some more secondary accessory lifts and finish with like a metabolic conditioning block at the end. So we're hitting all the pillars what you need for performance. So that is kind of back in action and putting an emphasis on that. You can find us on Instagram at GVN Performance, and we probably have some other social media platforms too, which I will not know the name of. What we are, I'm sure it's the
Probably under
same.
GVN performance stuff.
That's Gabby's area of expertise. So
Love it.
and other than that, no, I think I just I can't stress enough how nice it is to have like a clinician of Adam's caliber as well as the rest of the staff at the Movement Guild. Because sometimes we're going to get cases that are maybe a little bit above our heads, and we need to refer out to a trusted source that has a lot of experience and is going to know, be able to identify like what the course of action needs to be for someone. And then whether it's like, okay, they go do physical therapy because now it's just not the time, or we can kind of work together and communicate to go forward with that person's particular issues. That is something that kind of makes you sleep a little easier at night for the trainers and who we have over here at GVM Performance. So
Yeah, I feel like we're nice complements to each other's businesses in a lot of ways because like we're as I said, speak the same language and we're not we're doing different things and similar. So thank you,
yeah, it's
Pat.
great.
It's been
You tell me something, I know exactly what you're talking about, and it makes it easy. It
yeah,
reassures yourself that you're like on the right track.
Exactly. Appreciate your time today, my friend. Thanks again for being here.
Yeah,
Thanks,
this was
Pat.
great. Appreciate you guys.
Talk to you soon. Thanks again.